Hey, hey, welcome in. Let the good vibes all begin. Something good is about to happen. Sure. I've been waiting on you. Got a seat with your name. Started with a coffee chat. Now we about to change the game. You got a story worth telling, and I got a room full of ears. So drop whatever you've been holding. Get ready because your time is here. Because when real people talk to real people, something shifts. When real stories meet real listeners, something lifts. Every Saturday we show up and we bring our best. Show up to Carrie Connects and leave it best. Show up, show up. Something is happening here. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. This is your moment, come near, where every story intersects and every heart connects. From a coffee chat to the main stage, just bring who you are. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. Connection is the start. Carrie Connects. Entrepreneurs, voices, friends, where inspiration never ends. You did not come this far just to sit in the back. Everything you walk through was getting you ready for that. So step into the light. Let somebody see your face, because the right conversation can change everything in this place. When real people talk to real people, something shifts. And real stories meet real listeners, something lifts. Every Saturday we show up and we bring our best. Show up to Carrie Connects and leave it bright. Show up, show up. Something is happening here. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. This is your moment, come near, where every story intersects and every heart connects. Over coffee chat to the main stage, just bring who you are. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. Connection is the start. We started over coffee just to see if it was real. Yeah, you opened up and showed me everything you feel. Now the world is watching and they say the very best chance. Carrie Connects is where somebody finally cares. Show up, something is happening here. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. Listen, you know it, come near. Every story intersects and every heart connects. From the coffee chat to the main stage, just bring who you are. Carrie Connects. Real conversations, real connections. This is Carrie Connects. Show up.
All right, all right, all right. How amazing was that? Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm going to turn the comments on. If you are on Substack, we won't be able to see your comments live here, but I do have my phone in front of me. So if I'm looking down, that is why. But I am fired up. I'm so excited to have my honored guest with me today. Laila Belabbas is here. And we are going to have a great time today on Carrie Connects this Saturday. So I am going to jump right into it and welcome you, Laila, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Laila, okay, we got to get into this. Tell us who you are and what you do, like all of it, because you wear a lot of different hats, and I must say you wear them beautifully.
Thank you so much. That's very nice. So actually, Layla is born and raised in Montreal and moved to Vancouver a couple years ago. And I come from a family of immigrants, so both my parents were immigrants, and I grew up with four other siblings. So I'm the only girl of four brothers. So hence
Wow.
maybe why I moved away. Having brothers is not an easy situation, okay? But it builds you a lot of strength and character. And Layla's been a 15-year HR leader, a certified executive coach. I majored in entrepreneurship, finance, and management, so building couple startups. I started certified executive coach in your corner because I felt like people need somebody in their corner, hence why I started the name for it. And Splish Splash Handmade Products is more like my creativity. I'm an artist. I like to paint. I like to create things with my hands. And when I was in business school, that was kind of a project that just popped up. Like, the prof is like, okay, you have one week to come with a business idea. It has to be made with your own hands. And I'm like, I don't know how to do anything. And I was like, I know how to make products for myself, but that's all I do. Is like, you know what? That's a great idea. And that's how Splish Splash started. Within that whole semester, I did really well. And then the final project was selling your products to a market. They tricked us, okay, because we didn't know about it until they told us. Okay, and you're doing all these classes. And I was a national competition with other business university across Canada. And at the market, I sold out my products. And my prof and my program head of the program said, Layla, you're onto something. And you should just keep going. And I was like, nah, it's just too much work, whatever. And I decided to keep it because it's fun and creative, and self-care and wellness is for everyone.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that self-care and wellness is for everyone. And one of our initial conversations, we talked about connecting so that we would be able to manage our self-care as we navigated social media. And so we actually met at Social Audio Decoded, which is hosted by Keith Keller. And then we had a coffee chat. So just tell the audience what happened after that. How was Besties Beyond Borders born?
Came out of nowhere. So, well, first I got to add is my yes here. So this is where, because in 2025, I lost my job. I lost my dad to cancer. It was a very difficult year. Everything felt like collapsed, and I had no control over nothing. And I was just in a place where things just not moving. I just didn't know what I was going to do. And I was like, you know what, how about 2026? I'm making my yes year, and I'm going to do things that I enjoy, that I move with purpose, intention, and meeting new people. And then I started, it's like, how about I start a hot chocolate chat, because I don't drink coffee. So I posted on my LinkedIn and my social media. I was like, I'm going to open my calendar to random people that I don't know and see how they resonate with that. And then pleasantly surprise people is like, hey, I want to meet with you. And that's how, and then landed on like a couple podcasts, becoming a guest. And I met you on Keith's show. And next thing we had a hot chocolate chat, coffee chat, because you drink coffee. And I guess it just happened, and we've been talking since then, since March 3rd, every single day for hours. So their 15 minutes doesn't last longer than we expect.
Yes.
And then I guess through all that, I think we went on a live Substack, and then I think it just slipped. We're like besties, and then you just like said Besties Beyond Borders, and next thing was like, hey, we're onto something. Besties Beyond Borders is about building community and connection, and that's what we did. And here we are today.
And here we are today. Now, you mentioned some of your HR experience, and we're talking a little bit about Besties Beyond Borders, but I love how you keep me on track, because sometimes I do go off track. And I know we say, let's just talk for 15 minutes. I think we did that the other day. It ended up being 3 hours. So I know in your professional life, it's a little bit different, and you tend to maybe work from a calendar. So with your 15 years of HR experience, you're a certified executive coach and an ICF member. So how do those two worlds work together, when you show up for your clients?
So the thing is, people want to be seen, heard, and understood. So showing up with empathy. So that's what good leaders is showing up with empathy, listening. And you listen to understand, not to jump in and giving an answer, because we have tendency to do that. It's like, oh, let me help you. I want to give you a solution right away. It's like, no, give the person the space to talk and speak up, and let them say what they have to say. And that's what coaching is about. Is you're basically, when I coach somebody, a lot of executives, they are in the driver's seat. I don't give you your answers. I don't give you the solutions. I don't give you a framework. We believe that you have the own answers for yourself. And I'm just here as an instrument to give you some questions to help you dig deeper, self reflect, and find that framework and that path or journey that works for you.
I love that. Finding a path, finding a journey that works for people. And speaking of people, I want to say hi to a few friends that we have in the audience. So we definitely want to say hi to Jackie Hallberg. We definitely want to savor the flavor and say hi to Kenneth Dunner. And we have a few other people in the audience. I'm going to go ahead and say hi to them as well. Also, want to say hi to Dr. Josette. She was recently in an article. So, such amazing connections that we're meeting. I had a coffee chat with her as well. And then we have David Pushkin. Definitely want to say hello. And likewise, looking forward to this conversation. And I appreciate that you told us to stay encouraged. And I love your title, your Chief Encouragement Officer, because that's really what this is all about. If you have questions for Laila, make sure you drop those in the comments. We'll try and get them on stage. Hi, Linda Meyer. Definitely want to say hi to you. Have to always say hello to my Earth Angel, Christy Williams. And I call her that because she introduced me to such an amazing community. And want to take a few minutes to say hello to my buddy, Charles Phillips. Anytime I post something, Charles shares the post. And I absolutely love and appreciate that he shares the post. And listen, I am a secret ninja warrior, in case you all didn't know. I like to channel energy from the Jedis. And so I have to say hi to Jedi J. And he said, Laila looks like Laila. That is Laila. Oh, she looks like, well, at least you look like yourself today, right? And then we definitely want to say hi to Lisa as well. So if you all have any comments, you want to make sure that you drop them in the chat. And one last hello. We're going to say hi to Blessing. I love that name. I actually have a cousin named Blessing. And so continue to drop your comments in the chat as we continue this conversation. So thank you all so much for being here. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, send it out to your family and friends. Because this is an amazing conversation, and this is really what building community is about. Now, you talked about school, Laila, and how you were kind of tricked into doing this product that's sold out. So it sounds like you're building Splish Splash handmade products with this clear business to business vision where you're kind of focused on independent retailers. And I remember at one of our conversations, you said you even turned down Walmart. Now, talk
Yeah.
about that decision and what did that teach you about protecting your vision?
This conversation keeps coming back because people's like, you could have been rich already. So it's like, but then, for me, when you build a brand, when you build yourself, it's just about your corporate social responsibility, being an HR, being a leader. For me, it's important to partner with people that align with my values, which are important to me. How you treat your people, how you treat your community, how you give back to your local businesses around you. So for me, that's something that was very important to me. I do volunteer as well, and I just wanted to maintain that, and also the quality of the product. Because some organization, let's say like Walmart, well, they want volume. They just want like high profit. And they're just, the way they treat the people and the way they treat businesses, that's just not who I am. And you got to be mindful when you start something. Whoever you partner with, people will look at you that you align with these values. And that might not be who you are. So I would say no is a business skills. Not everything coming your way is a yes. You got to learn how to say no. And sometimes people around you might think it's an insane decision to say no to that. But you know where you're heading, you know what you're building, and you got to trust yourself and you got to trust your voice that says, you know what, this is not for you. And that's okay.
I love that because you talked about your yes year, right? And you also are saying that it is okay to say no as well. And so I love the idea that your yes year is also giving yourself permission to say yes to yourself, which means that you might have to say no to other people, to other products, to other projects. And so I love that balance of having a healthy yes, no relationship. Now, speaking of yeses, somebody said yes to you this year. You received the 2026 Voices of Impact Global Women of Influence Award on International Women's Day. What did that moment mean to you personally? That's like a big deal.
Um, I guess it is, but for me, it's just like, you know what? It's initially, it's like, oh, that's great. What am I celebrating for? Like, I didn't see that I'm doing much out there, but you don't really know when, because I also been writing leadership in couple magazines and published magazines, and I've been coaching leaders and things like that. And you just never really know when people are watching and listening. You don't know when you make a difference or not. And looks like to me, I made a difference somewhere, and they said, you know what, we want to recognize that. And I would say to all the leaders out there, and especially for the women, sometimes you're in leadership roles. Sometimes it's difficult to be in those roles, but people notice, you're making a difference, and just keep showing up every day. And then surprise, somebody notices what you're doing. And that's basically what happened. So I was very pleased, and I was very honored to be among all these wonderful women that have like done so much for the community. They're doing so much for their family. They're leaders in their own way. And you don't have to be a CEO. You don't have to be a manager to be a leader in your community or your family or among your friends. We're all leaders.
I love that leadership component, because a lot of times people struggle with what does it mean to be a great leader. And I used to say that in order to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. I think that you have to be able to build community, that you have to be able to build networks, you have to be able to get along with people, but you also have to be able to look and be honest with yourself about what skills you need to work on. What are some things that I can do to improve? So you actually wrote a leadership article for the organization that honored you. And
I
so
did.
you talked about some of the things that you wanted women to walk away with. What would you say is like the core message that you wanted women to walk away with?
Is like, you got to believe in yourself, and we all
Mhm.
gonna have self-doubt. Okay. And that's okay. You're gonna have days like that, but find yourself a community of female leaders that can help you. Get yourself a mentor. I've had mentors in my life that were more instrumental in my development than my own family and friends. And
Mhm.
I say that because sometimes your family and friends are not the environment that is conducive to your success. And I came from that. And that's okay, because they're in a different place. But having these mentors throughout your life and your career can be a tremendous experience. It can be positive because it's a two-way relationship, but they can make a big difference for you. And
Mhm.
having this person that you can talk to, that can share, that can provide, that can guide, that can support, and a community of other leaders that can help you. We all, as leaders, we all need other leaders for support, right? Like, you can't
Absolutely.
lead yourself. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others.
That's true. That's true. And then Jedi J says leadership is not about money. It's really about building community and listening to the stories of the community members. What do you think about that? Would you agree or disagree?
I totally agree, Jay. That's a great statement right there. And that's what it is about being a leader. It's not about the money, because some it's can be an ungrateful role sometimes. But a leader is really empowering, supporting, coaching, and mentoring others. Is like, you want to see other people's success. You want to be able to be part of their journey for their growth and
Mm,
development and making a difference in the world. We need more leaders more than ever. So we got to
mhm.
build our future generation of great leaders, and we have to have those opportunities to be able to support those communities and help them grow.
Absolutely. I agree with that 110%. So when I think about you as a leader and as a friend, I recognize that you are building a lot. So you're building your platforms, and some of those platforms we are definitely learning together. You're also building your coaching practice, and then you're building your product business, and then you've co-founded um a new business, and you're branding it all at the same time. Now, how do you stay grounded and keep moving without burning out?
Well, like I always tell you, girl, one day at a time. Okay, you
Mhm.
got to pause. You got to write your ideas, because we always have lots of ideas. But one thing I would say is like having that partnership. And I think that what really made me decide to say yes to that, because I found a great partner, and which helps a lot, right? Your partnership, your collaboration, the person you're going to be working with, it has to flow. It has to be natural. You have to be on the same page. You don't always have to agree with everything, but you got to build it together. And I think that's what Business Beyond Borders is about. It just happened organically. We just
Yes.
didn't expect it. And like I said, you're probably the only person who was able to convince me to do a podcast, because I was been saying no for the past few months. I'm like, I'm not interested. I don't want a podcast. I don't want to create one. and then, but then I said yes to Besties Beyond Borders because you're a great co-host and you understand where I'm at, and we're just connected, and it's just flowing, right? So sometimes there's people that come in your life unexpectedly, and that could be the best thing that can happen into your life.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I appreciate everything that you're saying. It really resonates with me because when we did an impromptu live on Substack because we were trying to learn the platform. And Laila ended up asking me some really great questions that other people just don't ask me about. And at the end, I said, so when are you going to start your podcast? And she was like, I'm not starting a podcast. I don't want to do a podcast. And so I left it alone because I respected that space. And then we continued to have conversations, and we would get on live trying to figure out the tools and figure out the resources. And like you said earlier in one of our conversations, it just naturally came out, the universe aligns. And I said, Besties Beyond Borders. And it was kind of born from there. And then eventually it moved into a podcast. So I think honoring the space that people are in is so important, because everybody might not be in the same space that you're in. Some people are going to really, really be great in the comment section. Like, that's how they show up. Carrie Connects, show up, right? And some people show up in the comment section, and that's it. They don't want to do podcasts. Some people show up in the comment sections and they'll share your things. Now, a lot of people have podcasts, and sometimes they don't want to share other people's podcasts. Me personally, what's for me is for me. I share everybody's podcast. If you look down my LinkedIn page, podcasts I'm not on, podcasts I'm not a guest on, podcasts that don't have topics that are related to me, I still share it. I share if somebody's hiring. I share if somebody has a business, because I really authentically believe in community, but that's how I choose to show up. And for some people, showing up might just be staying away. You show up and you work on you, right? And so I love that people get to show up authentically in their own spaces, in their own way. And what I really love, speaking about burnout, is how you always, Carrie, go to bed. Turn off your phone.
I actually tell you, like, you're like, I'm in my bed. Right? Like, Carrie's like, I'm in my bed. I was like, well, close your eyes, girl. Close your eyes. Okay. Gotta close those eyes.
But I love that, because that's one of the ways that you show up for me, is reminding me that, listen, if I want to continue to wake up like this, I have to get my beauty sleep. And so, making sure that we stay hydrated, things in terms of our health and our nutrition, having conversations about what may be better for us to make sure that our health continues to improve. And so I absolutely love all of the things that you and I are doing behind the scenes. And so what would you say, with everything that you have going on, what do you think is the hardest part of building as a woman entrepreneur that people just don't talk about enough?
I would say the lack of believing and supporting, right? If I would be a guy, I think it would be easy. People's like, oh wow, this is a great idea. And that's not what it's cracking to be. And that's just the way it is. Also, the startup world is very it's very interesting, like, especially being in Canada is slightly different than the US, but it's just like, you know what, when you start something new, you're building something new, there's going to be hiccups, there's going to be challenges, every day is going to be, you just don't know what you're going to get, and that's okay. That's part of the journey. And building something new, it just comes with like a super fun energy and so much ideas. So I would say it brings a lot of positivity in your life. And I think that's what I enjoyed the most, because it gives you that ability to create. That creativity part is definitely flowing at the beginning, right? Because you need to create everything, because nothing exists. And that's the fun part of it. So you just got to trust the process, be patient, and just go on this journey and see what happens. It might open a door, it might open another door, it might close couple, open something. You just never know. And if things show up in your life and it flows easily, it means you're on the right path.
Yes. And speaking of easy flow, I've had so many ideas since you and I have started talking because, like you, when I was younger, I didn't really feel like I was creative. And then I came into a new understanding that we were created, whether you believe in the scripture or whether you believe in the Big Bang Theory, some type of way we ended up here, right? And so, taking that idea and that concept, I said, well, I am a creative being. And so, just being open to that and having those conversations with you every day, I'm texting or messaging Layla like, "Oh, I have a new idea. I got a new idea." She's like, "Me too." And then let's get on for 15 minutes, which, as we already mentioned, turns into hours. But we have all of these ideas and all of this creativity flowing. And I think it's because of the synergy. And one of the things that Christy said is that we get to pick our friends and they become our people. So
Mhm.
I'm so happy that you have become my people. Now, I have to put this comment up here because I think it's hilarious. Jedi J says, I can't imagine an AI generated or animated Coach Carrie or Layla. And I agree with you because we keep it real. And so artificial intelligence has its place, definitely in leadership, definitely in creativity and building. But I think in terms of partnership, it's really important who you choose. You want to choose somebody that is authentic, somebody that is real, because if you don't have the right partner, if you said yes to the wrong person, things can kind of go awry and go awry quickly. But I love that just like with the good GPS, you can make a U-turn, right? And so you have to be willing to make a U-turn when you realize that you're going in the wrong direction. Charles said a bad partner, whether it's a business partner or a partner in life, can create a ton of problems. What would you say to that as an
Oh,
executive
that's a great statement right there, Charles. Absolutely, because you're spending time with the life partner or the partner in business. You spend like a lot of time with these people. So if they're not the right person for you, it can definitely, uh, you know, um, impact your journey, your path, your growth, your development, where you see yourself. So choose wisely. It's like, we don't choose our family, but there's certain things we can choose. So you got to choose your people, and you got to be able also to, you know, be able to assess and reassess where you're at, who you're with, and your surroundings and your environment. And sometimes when you reassess, you realize, you know what? I might need to change. This is not,
Mhm,
it's not fitting me anymore. I've
mhm.
grown, I'm changed, and obviously for the better. And sometimes the people around you may not be that environment for you that fits you anymore. Hence why it's important to continue growing networking. And I was in that space not long ago where I was just like, you know what? My environment is not who I am right now. I've changed. So I need
Mhm.
to make that effort. It's not easy. You gotta you gotta show up. You gotta try something different. You really gotta think outside the box. You gotta put yourself out there. But I will tell you, it's totally worth it because you just never know the next thing you do, the next person you meet, that some new door will open and it will be the best door that you ever open in your life.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think that you have to be willing to take some risk. And so, one of the things that Jackie said, and she was making a comment in response to Charles, is she said, that that's true about bad partnerships. And the only time she tried a business partnership, it blew up so badly that she decided to only go solo from now on. And I would encourage you, Jackie, even though I'm not the guest today, but I would encourage you to continue to build those relationships to see if partnership is right for you. But if going solo is working for you and it's working well, then continue to say yes to yourself and go solo. So what would you say to somebody who had a experience, it didn't really go well, and now they just don't want to reach back into that space again? Is that a good thing from an executive leadership perspective? Or do you kind of encourage your employees or your clients to, try again and maybe meet some other people?
I would say, what have you learned from that experience that
Mhm.
can help you choose differently, right?
Mm,
We all learn through our challenges or ups and down, what goes well, what doesn't go well. What have I learned from that experience that it didn't make sense? It didn't suit me at that time. What was not aligned for myself? And what could I do differently to make sure I find the right partner? What do I need from that partner? And having
mhm,
those lists. So for me, I always have like, I'm a notebook taker. I have notes. I'm always taking lists and I'm always writing stuff, right? It's important. So having those, and the reason why is because we always have so many ideas flowing, and then by the time it leaves your head, you forget, you take notes. So
mhm.
I would say you got to learn from it, and what will work for you. Like, you got to look at it, like you got to make a list of what didn't work, what worked, what have I learned, what do I'm looking in a partner. And it's the same as like relationship in your love life. Okay,
Mhm.
some people have been through a divorce, some people have been through separation. We all grow and develop. What hasn't worked for you at that time that you need right now? So by looking at your future partner, what do I need from them? Nobody's perfect, let's be honest, but
Right.
there's certain requirements or certain standards for you that are important, right? That maybe that they need to respect who you are, they need to allow you to be independent, that you need somebody who's a bit more loving and more caring, or maybe you need somebody who's just like, you know what, just let me do my thing, I want you to be independent too. Everybody has different ways that they want to be loved, appreciated, and supported. So you got to make sure that you communicate that and you find a person that resonate with that, with what you want.
Absolutely. I agree with that 110%. Blessing says the partner we work with has everything to do with output and burnouts. I think that's a really powerful statement. Blessing says when we are surrounded with good partners, the best part of us will be unlocked. How would you respond to that?
I would say blessing 100%, right? When you're with the right person, they help you blossom, and they make you be a better version of yourself. When you're with the wrong person, either relationship or partnership in business, they will make you, the worst side of yourself will come out, right? So you want to find that balance. And burnout, I think, comes as well to and I see a lot of that in leadership roles, and even through employees. You get to a point where you misaligned, I believe.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
wherever you are in your journey as a career and as a person, you start to feel misaligned. And then this is where burnout comes in. And this is what I'm hearing from the people I lead and I coach, is like, I'm just not myself anymore. I'm not enjoying this. When I wake up is dreadful. I come to work is dreadful. When I go to home, like my family's demanding. I'm not enjoying being with my family. I just don't want to be around them. And that tells me that you're tired. You're lacking support and you're misaligned for who you are. So somewhere around the line, you forgot who you were.
Mm.
So what can you do to bring yourself back to where you would like to be?
That is a great, great observation. So, remembering who you are and bringing yourself back into alignment with who you are supposed to be. My last guest, Sensei Fred Jordan, that's one of the things that he specializes in. And one of the comments that he made is that we don't find our purpose, we remember our purpose, which I thought was absolutely profound. And I definitely agree with that. You have to remember your purpose. Once you're aligned, then I think you get a lot more positive output and a little less burnout, especially when you have a good partner that tells you to go to bed, okay, and close your eyes, right? And so I think that's super important. Gregory says, what we need in this world is that real actionary leadership, not retail or all for show leadership at this moment. And so I know you're an amazing leader, and I know there are some leaders who have room for growth and improvement. What would you say to that? Do you think that we need more real actionary leadership?
I have to say with Gregory, absolutely. I'll be honest, I was not always a great leader. I
Hmm.
wasn't. I started with like, I had no idea what I was doing.
Hmm.
I went to leadership school multiple times. I went to leadership school in the military, which is actually a really good training. I've learned a lot. And I learned over the years empathy, something I haven't developed because my environment wasn't conducive to have empathy. I
Hmm.
had to be in a different way for survival, right? And then you stay that way, and then you lead that way, right? And I have to learn over the years empathy, what it was, and how to become to be leading with empathy. It was honestly a struggle to learn, even though I'm an HR person,
Hmm.
just because of the environment that I've worked in and the environment that I grew up with that was not an empathetic environment. So over the years, when we see people in the workplaces, you got to remember everybody comes with their baggage, their
Hmm.
insecurities, their challenges. You don't know what they're going through in life. You don't know what they've experienced in life. So sometimes it show up in the workplace when something doesn't work out well. There's
Hmm.
blow ups. And that's where, as leaders and as an employee, you are a leader as well. You got to learn to lead with empathy. It doesn't mean you understand everything, but you just got to be supportive and understanding and try to help the people, because we're all humans. None of us is perfect. We all learning. And as myself as a leader, hence why I went back to do a postgrad in executive coaching, because I wanted to develop more of my empathy, more of my leadership skills, and how can I show up differently as a leader instead of telling others what to do. Is like, how can I reframe my delivery for it to be more engaging for them, more comfortable, and for them to help them develop and how to mentor a better coach people. And I think that's the way we grow leaders, is by coaching and mentoring.
I would agree with that 110%. And you talked earlier about learning and being a leader and how you were one type of leader and then you actually went back to school, which I think is profound because a lot of people feel like, well, I know what I need to know. And sometimes they're opposed to going back to learning. And the learning may be through formal education, it might be through a conference or a convention, it might be through someone who has a value gap where this is what you know and this person knows this, and so this is the value. And I always try to surround myself with people where there is a value gap, because if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. And so I love that you talked about going back and learning and going back and getting additional education. So you describe yourself as somebody who kept learning, you kept growing, even when the people who were closest to you really didn't understand why. And so what kept you going? Some people would have just said, ah, and gave up. What made you turn your mess into a message? And that's my favorite phrase, David. Turn your test into a testimony, turn your mess into a message. What made you just continue to keep going and continue learning, even though the people closest to you didn't understand your why?
It's a great question. I think it was a bit of a spite, a little bit, where I was just like, you know what? I'm going to show you everybody that yes, I can pursue education. Yes, I can have a career. Yes, I could be a better person. And yes, I can do things for myself. And I think that was just a driver to show the world that, you can't take me down. You can't, if you don't believe in me, that's okay. I'll believe in myself. And if I can't believe in myself, I'm going to find somebody who believes in me. So
Hmm.
I always tell people, is like, if you're in those situations and you're not surrounded by people that believe in you, because, self-doubt is there and we're all humans, find at least one person that does.
Yeah,
One person that see
absolutely.
your value, see your truth, see your authenticity, see your skills, your abilities, and they see you more than you can see yourself, because we can't always see ourselves. And that's where sometimes moving and changing your environment is probably key to your survival for growth and development and living the life you want to live, right?
Hmm.
And it's not easy. It's very
Yeah.
challenging. You might end up by yourself. You might lose a lot. You might wake up one day, it's like, wow, I have no friends, family, nothing. It's just me. But then you go out there in the world and find community. And that's what kept me, is community. I moved to Vancouver and I was embraced by a community. Um, and this community has been supporting me throughout. And then I found a new community recently as well that are even more empowering, that, to help me in this new journey, that I'm a different place now and I'm seeking something different. And without my community right now, I wouldn't be here talking to you today.
I definitely understand that. That resonates with me as well because community building is extremely, extremely important. And so you talked about m- when people who are around you may not necessarily support what you're doing, you find a community that does support you. And so when you're going through those challenges, um, one of the questions is, was there a time when you were unable to self care because you were being challenged by a situation. So for me, Jay, that is a resounding yes, there were those times. But again, that's why community is so important, because they pull you through certain situations. What would you say to that? Because I know we have a great LinkedIn community, and you were getting ready to leave LinkedIn.
I was, because I was like, you know what? This is not working for me. It's like empty messages pitching me sales stuff that I'm like, but I'm not even in those environments. There's like generic posts, and I'm just like, what am I doing on LinkedIn? I was about to leave for real, and I'm just like, this is not for me. I'm not going to find community there. I have to find another way to find community. But also, it was something I wrote about communities when I was in school. I wrote a whole paper on what obviously, because we get coached too, and some of the thing I list is like, I need to find community again because I've lost it. I've lost my community for moving around for work and career and all that stuff. And I just what was the question again? I lost myself in there.
Sorry, I took the question off of the screen. But just were there times when you weren't able to really do that self-care piece, and how did you push through those challenging situations? Were there times that occurred for you?
So there is times like that. I was in that time. That's hence why 2026 is my yes year. But what I did to push me through was, and I've always been doing that, is practicing gratitude every morning. That like somewhat meditation. I was like, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have a roof on my head. I'm grateful that I have people around me. I'm grateful that I'm employed. I'm happy where I am. I'm wishing all these great things, sending kindness and love to the rest of the world, and just being practicing that gratitude, that realize, you know what, you woke up today. Not everybody woke up today. So it means that you have an opportunity to go in the world and make a difference. And that's how I lead. A smile, a chat. If I go to the airport for travel business, my Uber's asking me questions. I respond. I talk to them. I try to get to know them. At the airport, the same thing. The flight attendant, I chat with everybody. Sometimes I hop in. It's like, hey, HR Laila is here, to the pilot. Okay. Hopping on the plane is like, oh, you're RH. I was like, no, but I'm watching. So, I just show up because I have an opportunity to be awake today, and I just want to make a difference, even if it's a smile and saying something. Even if I'm sitting at the restaurant, people's like, oh, what do you do? It looks like you're traveling for business. Oh, I'm an HR. I was like, oh, I actually have an HR question. Sure, I'm listening. Just make sure you get my food. But, right. I try to always give back some value, even if it's not monetary, but I'll give advice, recommendation, support. You can do this, like empowering words, that's what I do every day. And people's like, why are you doing that? I was like, why not? I believe that being of service, that one time that I can meet somebody and say something, that could be that thing they needed that day that I don't know, but maybe I make a difference in somebody's day today. I don't know what it is, but hopefully I did. And that's how I want to operate, being of service.
Yeah. And I love that you talked about being of service. One of the things that you do in terms of overcoming those challenges and just moving forward and being such a positive light and a positive energy everywhere that you go, including in our conversations that we have offline. Like literally, people may not believe this, but we actually talk every single day. Now, gratefully, she speaks English because that is the language that I am familiar with, but you speak multiple languages. What are the other languages that you speak when you're going around and you're connecting and traveling and building community? Do you always speak English, or I know you speak multiple languages?
I'll speak the language what the person is speaking. So I speak English, I speak French, I speak Spanish, I speak Arabic. I've learned a bit of Farsi, and I can pick up any language really. So that's just something I enjoy. So hence when I travel, usually I try to learn a bit of the language where I'm heading, so I can converse and be immersed in the community and make people feel comfortable. Because I think that's one thing about being a leader, is creating that safe space, making people feel comfortable, making people feel that they can trust you, they can open up, and that you're safe. And you're not there to harm. You're not there to do anything to them. Whatever they'll tell you, you're not going to use it against them. You're just being real and being a human. And that's what it's about. My title don't matter. Your title, nobody's title and how much you make matters. You're human. You can make a difference in somebody else. You don't have to have millions of dollars to make a difference. You can give back to community by volunteering. You can just show up and make a comment. You can share something. You can show up to an event. You can donate some time. You can donate a service or product. There's just so many ways you can help. It's just find a way that makes sense for you where you're at and you're capable. If you're not capable of giving at that time, that's okay too. There's a time
Mhm.
where you'll be able to give back. And the more you give, the more you get in return, right? The universal laws, universe as a way of being aligned. And when you move with intention, purpose, and positivity and making a difference, the universe will reward you with good things as well. So try to stay in a positive light. If you're having a bad day, we all have those days. We all have those days. So what do I do? I call it my one thing.
Mm.
So if I'm not having a good day, I do my one thing. So one thing out of list of 20 things that needs to be done, because we all have so many things to do in a day. I try to pick the most important things that needs to be done, or the
Mhm.
least important that requires less energy and attention from myself that I can do without too much messing it up, if you know what I mean. Sometimes we're just in those days where the attention to detail is not there, the capacity is not there. But I call it my one thing. So you do your one thing today, and then you feel that you've accomplished it. You're like, and the rest, I will rest today. I will do things that require less energy, lower tasks, and things that just doesn't need too urgent to be done.
I
Because that's
love
some
that you
some form of self-care. You gotta, balance a little bit.
definitely. I love that. And I love that you talked about the one thing. Leslie says find an accountability partner or a very small mastermind with people doing the work that you are doing. And that's, again, that community. But she ends by saying focus on small. And that's kind of what you just talked about in terms of that one thing is making sure that you accomplish something. I think it gives you a sense of accomplishment, even if you can't do everything, and then you do what you can, especially if you've made a commitment. And if you can't make a commitment, keep a commitment, you let the person know, and then you look to do it within the next 24 hours. So that's one of the things that Leslie teaches. She's a master teacher and a mentor. And so I absolutely love that she shared that comment in that space. And I knew about the multiple languages. Okay. I just had to flex on y'all for a little bit because this is my best friend. Okay. Had to let you know. Right. And so I love the idea too, Jay, of being diverse and being inclusive. That's extremely important. And Cachet says balance, right? And you have to have balance because if you weigh the scale too heavy on work, 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 then there's this imbalance. If you weigh the scale too heavily on, play, 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 there's this imbalance. But it's not just work and play. Why am I hitting my microphone? So it's not just work and play, but there can be an imbalance in anything. Whether it's eating too much of the wrong thing versus the right thing, if it's exercising versus, the couch potato lifestyle. And so I think finding balance, even within yourself, is extremely important. But I want to pick up on one of the things that you mentioned also, Layla. You talked about building community across borders. And for me, that requires a level of trust. I know that you talked about the pilots and the other people that you're meeting. And so sometimes we're just giving of ourselves in that way where we're being kind to the people that we meet who are a part of our community in that moment, who may not be a part of our community long term. But when you think about building community across borders and the trust that it takes, and it takes time to build that trust, what does community mean to you? And how do you know when you found community?
It's a great question. And I would say, trusting is, let's be honest, it's the hardest thing to do, y'all. Come on. Like trusting somebody you just met, just like, it's already hard to trust people you're already close to you. And you just assess and you just see how the person behave. And for me, that's one thing.
Mhm,
If I see people that are misbehaving or mistreating others, right there for me, you're not going to be my person. I'm not going to be around you. I can't,
mhm,
I don't, that's not who I am. So about building community is also meeting people that are aligning with some of your values. They're close to your values. They believe in similar things, mindset, because mindset is important as well. And we all, there's like multiple season, and there's this say, I can never remember it, but people come from a long term, a season, or whatever it is, and sometimes you're going to be part of somebody's life temporarily, and
Mhm.
sometimes you're going to be there for a longer period of time, and there's going to people that come your path, they're going to be here for a longer period, and sometimes it's going to be a short period. And I would say to everyone, like, everything in life is a lesson learned. Even if it feels negative, it's challenging, it's difficult. You're just like, why is this happening to me right now? Like, I'm doing all the right things. I'm showing up every day. I'm hardworking. I'm very dedicated. I'm helping others. I'm supporting others. And nothing is happening. Nothing is working. So these things happen because life is a thing, and life happens to all of us. Entropy happens, the universal law happens, life happens, and life is a journey, and there's always a
Mhm.
learning
Mhm.
lesson somewhere. You might not see it, and I would say life is an iceberg. Okay, you can only see
Yeah.
the top, you don't know what's going on under. And that's what sometimes the beauty of it, and the frustration, because you're like, why is it not happening? When this door is going to open, right? And you're just like, I
Mhm.
want this to happen. But you got to trust the process, and I think that's what's the hardest thing to do, is to have faith, hope, and trusting the process, that whatever difficulties you're in is temporary. When you're down, things are going to go up. When things are up, it's going to go down. That's just how life
Mhm.
is. It's a roller coaster. And trusting the process is the hardest thing. And that's where practicing gratitude is important. And when you want to build community as well, you're gonna have people, you're gonna meet on your path. You're gonna be like, wow, this is really not my person. This is not
Mhm.
how I want to operate. This is not my style. And you know what? Treat them with respect, kindness, and grace. Give them the grace, and just move along. And that's
Mhm.
maybe a Sagittarius thing too, because we have our
Right.
moments like you know what I mean? Like, we may not have that much of a patient, I would say, but you know, I think that's what it is like you gotta operate life as with empathy, and say, you don't know what this person's going through. If they're going through things and you're not in the place where you can support and help, move along. You don't have to
Absolutely.
suffer. People don't have to be part of whatever. And that's what takes about building communities. Like, we're here for support, collaboration, and partnership. And
Mhm.
we all gonna go through things. Life happens. You wake up the morning, things have shifted, right? Like, you have no control. But you gotta have the patience, you gotta trust the process, and you gotta give people some grace.
Absolutely. You definitely have to give people grace. Love that you talked about, everybody is not your person, and some people are basically in your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. I believe that our friendship is lifetime. So you're not getting rid of me, okay? Because you my
All right,
people.
girl.
So you my people. And so we're building Besties Beyond Borders together. What's your vision for what this becomes?
That's I have so many ideas. That's the problem. So I gotta tone it down, I have to say, because you're not helping sometimes. I was like, girl, I have ideas, me too. And it's just like, then we start like, it's just sometimes we need like a bit of a buffer. But I think that Besties Beyond Borders is really about building community from anywhere. And what I like about us is, I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and you're in US, Indiana, okay? And you're
Mhm.
south of Chicago. Like, you're a Chicago girl at the end of the day. The Chicago does come out, so
Period.
I can see it, right? So um it's I just want to be able to Besties Beyond Borders as a brand is like, it's when people look at it, they see it as, this is community, this is collaboration, this is partnership, this is empowerment, this is leadership. And wherever you are, you can find your bestie, right? Like, your bestie can be anywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be in your same neighborhood, doesn't have to be in your same city or your state or your country. You can meet great people from around the world, and they could make the biggest difference in your life. And we are global, and we're all human. Regardless of where you live, we can still come together and build community. And that's what I love about this community and our Besties Beyond Borders is, we're just meeting people along the way that just like embracing this community, and we're just building community like that. And I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to be able to meet you in person, because we haven't done that, right? So hopefully we have an event together where Besties Beyond Borders and other besties come together and say, share their stories, like how we met and we became Besties Beyond Borders too, because we may be inspired others to be like, see community, go out there, think outside the box, connect with people, but with safety, right? You just don't meet people
Absolutely.
randomly. without not being careful, because right now we're like, it's through internet, so we're it's very different, but in person you got to be careful who you meet, right? So I would just want to emphasize that about safety. Do your research, do your due diligence. If you ever meet somebody in person, you got to make sure that you're in public or whatever, because you just never know who you're meeting. However, I think that we're going to see a lot of great things about Besties Beyond Borders, because we have so many ideas. Carrie and Laila are just like, I don't know if sometimes we sleep and we wake up, we have ideas. It's just like, it just keeps flowing. But like, you're going to see something super fun, super new, super interesting. And we want you to be part of this Besties Beyond Borders community, because it's going to be phenomenal. And I want to encourage everybody to be part of it, because that's what we need to build, a humanity, and showcase people that are doing great things in the world. There are good things in the world, and how the world is. There's still great people doing great things. And that's what Besties Beyond Borders is about. It's about uplifting, empowering, and bringing positive energy to you and whoever you meet. And that's what we do.
That is exactly what we do. And I love that Sandy said that they believe it's amazing, because it is amazing. It's amazing to have met someone that I otherwise would never have come in contact with. Thankfully, Keith Keller had his social audio meeting where we were able to connect. Neither of us knew anything about tech, so that we're here is a miracle in and of itself.
It's so true.
Like, so what button do we click? Sometimes we click ourselves out of the meeting. We turn the meeting off. But I love too that you mentioned taking notes, because that's one of the things that we do, is that when we're meeting and you're brainstorming, there's really no such thing as a bad idea. Even if you have an idea that you don't use, that brainstorm, it can lead you to another idea. So I love that when we're doing that collaboration, that we never say, well, no, don't do that. That's not a good idea. We still just make a note of it, because sometimes even just sleeping on it, we come up with something even more amazing the next day. So I appreciate that comment about amazing, because it really is. It's amazing to meet people. Now, you talked about safety and meeting people in person, but I want you to talk a little bit about that Besties Beyond Borders activity that happened in real time. You met someone from Australia, and then Keith Keller, who's in Australia. Talk about what happened with that.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. That's why you have a bestie like that. She's keeping me accountable. She's like, don't forget about it. And she's bringing it back. So thank you for the reminder, because I totally forgot about it. So I've been on Keith Keller's show. Like, he has his own audio podcast. I'm on a couple communities. And I said, hey, this is my friend Keith. He has a show. Like, maybe anybody would be interested in like showing up. And I said to Keith, hey, I know somebody is on Australia too. He's like, really? Because I know nobody from Australia is coming to my show. So I said, let me make an introduction on LinkedIn. And then I introduced them. And then it's like, oh my God, Laila, you wouldn't believe he lives 20 minutes away from my house. I was like, how's that possible? From all around the world. And I'm in Vancouver, Canada, right? So I'm just like, and what happens, which was interesting, is he's like, well, we set up a meeting. We're going to meet in person. I was like, wow, that's something else. And they actually went and meet and had a coffee chat for like 3 hours or plus somewhere in Australia, and they took pictures and they sent it to me, and I was just like, wow, this is amazing. So from all around the world, Besties Beyond Borders connected people that were someone in the same country, but I'm not from that country. And it shows that how Besties Beyond Borders is connecting people and building community and relationships from all around the world. And it's super fun. They're having such a great time. And now they're becoming like besties too. It looks like they're seeing each other quite often. They're talking to each other like almost every day, it looks like, as I can see the messages. So I think maybe Keith has found his person, Dan, somewhere in Australia too. So it's super fun. So to see people meeting and enjoying and building those new relationships, it's like, wow, we were part of this. And it just started, was like, hey, I want to make an introduction. And next thing you know, they meet, and next thing you know, they become Besties Beyond Borders too.
Absolutely. And then, speaking of another example of just connecting people, I had a coffee chat this morning. I know I normally don't do them on Saturdays, but once I got through all of my tech issues, I had a coffee chat this morning, which was absolutely amazing. And this coffee chat that I had this morning with Dr. Donna, we were just having a conversation, and talking about the idea of her being a guest on my podcast. And one of the things that came up in the conversation was she hadn't seen my podcast before. So I said, well, you should watch the one that I did last week with Sensei Fred Jordan. She said, oh, I know him. I've been knowing him for about 20 years. I was like, what? So sometimes it's meeting people that already know people that you know and reconnecting them because they haven't talked in a while. And so I'm happy to reconnect them because you lose touch with people. And then I love that idea of people who didn't know each other but lived 20 minutes apart. That's really the foundation of what Besties Beyond Borders is really, 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 really all about. So I have absolutely loved this conversation, and I know we're going to continue to talk more offline.
Sorry, of course, we know that.
Part of it, but so what I would ask you in closing is, what do you want every person in our audience to walk away with believing about themselves after this conversation today?
I would say, be the leader you wish you had.
Ooh.
Okay, so and that will help you lead and find your leadership style. Because, there's a couple different style of leaders. I prefer the servant leader and the inclusive leadership style, but there's different ones. But, finding that will help you develop your leadership skills and find this new journey. And I would say, go find your besties beyond borders somewhere. There's somewhere, I don't know where, but you got to find them because they might be that person that you might need that will help you open these doors and create some new journey, a new path that can be new and exciting. Because sometimes getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of an environment and trying a new environment can be super fun and exciting. And it can bring you this new energy that you have lost or that you can gain. And it will just bring you so much creativity, fun, love, and excitement about life and something new. And new is exciting. Could be scary, but it's fun and exciting. So be the leader you wish you had and go find your besties beyond borders. We want to hear about it. If anybody's finding your besties beyond borders, we definitely want to hear those stories.
We absolutely want to hear those stories. And listen, get into it, Sandy. Okay. That is deep. Be the leader that you wish you had. Be the leader that you never had. I absolutely love that. I think that is the perfect way to close out this segment. I want to thank you for being a guest on Carrie Connects. Tomorrow, I am launching season 2 of Clarity from the Heart. New intro, new outro, new format, new platform. So make sure you all connect with me for that. It's every Sunday, 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. We will be starting on time. So make sure that you have your pens, pencils, crayons, something to write with. You don't want to miss that. And keep your eyes and ears open for this upcoming episode 3 of Besties Beyond Borders. But I want to thank you all for joining us. This has been Carrie Connects with my amazing Besties Beyond Borders, Laila Belabbas. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you all somewhere online or maybe in person. Find your bestie. Bye.
Hey, welcome in. Let the good vibes all begin. Something good is about to happen. Sure. I've been waiting on you. Got a seat with your name. Started with a coffee chat. Now we about to change the game. You got a story worth telling, and I got a room full of ears. So drop whatever you've been holding. Get ready because your time is here. Because when real people talk to real people, something shifts. When real stories meet real listeners, something lifts. Every Saturday we show up and we bring our best. Show up to Carrie Connects and leave it fast. Show up, show up. Something is happening here. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. This is your moment. Come near where every story Entrepreneurs, boisterous friends, where inspiration never ends. You did not come this far just to sit in the back. Everything you are through was getting you ready for that. So step into the light. Let somebody see your face, because the right conversation can change everything in this place. When real people talk to real people, something shifts, and real stories meet real lips, and does something lips. Every Saturday we show up and we bring our best. Show up to Carrie Connects and leave it bright. Show up, show up. Something is happening here. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. This is your moment. Come in where every story intersects and every heart connects. Over coffee chat to the main stage. Just bring who you are. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects, and that makes the star. We started over coffee just to see if it was real. Yeah, you opened up and showed me everything you feel. Now the world is watching.